So I was in Target the other day and I was looking for some golf clothes. I've been getting really into golf lately. And the problem was that they only had pants. They didn't have any golf shorts. And I thought to myself, this reminds me of the video game collaboration between From Software creative director Hidetaka Miyazaki and Game of Thrones creator George Railroad Martin, known as Elden Ring. You may have heard the gamers are mad at the New York Times. An article was written by Brian X. Chen titled, "In Elden Ring, the struggle feels real," in which Chen makes an effort to both explain Elden Ring at its most basic level as well as apply it to the COVID-19 pandemic. Chen wrote, "To defeat a boss, you can carefully study its moves and plan an attack. Or you can, quote, cheese it with a cheap trick that requires no skill and ensures victory. Either way, a win is a win. Such a flexible game may resonate with players worldwide and bring them together in a time when people are choosing their own truth about masks, shots, and information they read online in general." I chose this excerpt because the piece takes these two disparate ideas and tries to mash them together. And the issue I have is not that Chen tries to make this leap. I respect the attempt at the leap. It's not that he was explaining Elden Ring as if he was talking to a toddler. And it's also not because I find that the New York Times is disrespecting gaming in some way. I don't really care about that. My issue with the piece is that it was possible to make this leap and apply Elden Ring to life, and this piece fails to do that. But let's talk about how we could do that. In Elden Ring and From Software games, the struggle is real. If you are not up to the task of overcoming challenge in a game, then I would not recommend these games to you. The stigma around these games can have a tendency to pigeonhole them, and it overshadows that these games offer a lot of fun and value in their RPG mechanics, level design, and combat feel. However, because of this branding around them, they have become synonymous with difficulty and conversely, accomplishment in gaming. Before I ever played one of these games in any seriousness, I would legitimately consider playing them in harder moments of my personal life. Last year, as I went through a breakup, I recall joking about no-lifing Bloodbourne. Half joking, half not. I had this association that overcoming the mountainous horror of that game would translate to healing that mountainous horror of my emotions and confidence at the time. I'm not saying it's reasonable or sensible to think that, but it would have proven something to myself. If I'm competent enough to overcome one challenge, surely I could overcome another. The idea that one of these games could reflect real life is an idea I find to be true because I've seen it in my own life. Fast forward to February 2022 as vaccination rates rise. Oh wait, nope, sorry. We're not making that video here. Fast forward to February 2022, I had a run-in with the all too familiar virus known as imposter syndrome. I was letting myself buy into the hype around Elden Ring, planning to play it day one, and I realized I was a fraud. I genuinely couldn't let myself play Elden Ring as a first-time From Software player. This culmination of everything into this sprawling and epic open world would have still impressed me, but none of it would have been earned. For this series that I knew required you as the player to buy in, to show it respect and earn your victories, I did not have the right. Oh, I did not have the right to simply jump into the magnum opus from the start. So I played Dark Souls 1, Xbox 360, 30 FPS, authentic Dark Souls 1. I have just taken a shower, and that's important because I'm going through a baptism. I'm being reborn. I'm being reborn into, hopefully, the cult of From Software. I rang the bells. I sludged through Blighttown. I defeated Ornstein and Smo, and goddammit, I linked to the First Flame. And while it came a week late, I earned my right to play Elden Ring. Rise, tarnished rise. Dark Souls 1 showed me the ropes. It taught me the language of these games. When I arrived at Firelink Shrine, I immediately collided with the skeletons of the catacombs. So of course I realized they were too strong for me, and I went to check for another route to a more appropriate area. Wait a second, no I didn't. I kept hitting my head against the wall. I immediately understood why so many people drop these games. It took peeking at a walkthrough to realize, oh, there are other areas I can go to. Therefore, one of the most important lessons was taught to me. If If it seems like an area is too strong and you shouldn't be there, that's because it is too strong and you shouldn't be there. Dark Souls 1 taught me that the challenge is fair. I'm meant to be prepared, on the same playing field as my foes. And I learned about the satisfaction that comes with succeeding through the struggle in these games. Upon beating Dark Souls 1, I was prepared to roll those learnings and feelings into Elden Ring. On one hand, I did, but ultimately, I think there is a bigger takeaway about Elden Ring. It's May 19th, 2019, a day that you may not remember, but I will never forget. The water cooler fell over. It was cracked in half, blown up by a grenade, and defecated on by rodents. The Game of Thrones finale was the last taste of a true water cooler moment we could ever have. And it ended so poorly that it seemingly destroyed the concept as a whole. While it was a complete and utter failure, it's not hard to look back on the time and appreciate the communal nature. I think it's natural that we all want to talk about the thing that we consumed and like. For the most part, we've lost this, but there is a clear sign that there is a desire to have this feeling again. The first example stays in the TV realm with the popularity and general content machine around Euphoria Season 2, but we're not talking about that today. And the second example is the exponential popularity around Elden Ring. Chen did stumble into my main takeaway from Elden Ring. Chen quoted Kessa McDonald of The Guardian, and she said, "It's not really one player versus the game, it's the entire community of players versus the game." Chen used this idea of community in Elden Ring to make a point about reconnection in a post-pandemic world. And this is a point I believe in. The reason I'm making this video and giving this piece a hard time to begin with is because it was always there. The point was always there to be able to apply Elden Ring to life, and they just failed to make it the thesis of it. It's the number one way that we can contextualize the wider popularity of Elden Ring, and on a micro level, it explains so many of the decisions made in the game design. When other devs were complaining on Twitter about the obtuse nature of the game and calling it bad game design, how bad can it be if they accomplish their goal?
I'm free. I can do what I like.
The desire to build community is front and center in these games with the messages on the ground. Things are random and difficult because it forces us to talk to each other, to go on TikTok and see the endless amount of content being made about this game. This has always been the case in these games, and Elden Ring is the breaking point into the mainstream, where it's officially a water cooler game. One thing I want to make perfectly clear in this video is that Elden Ring did not begin the From Software design that emphasizes community. It is simply the title in which the dam broke. One of the biggest controversies from this New York Times piece is that it gave credit to the pandemic for breaking that dam. Now, myself and many others do not believe that to be the case. No specific circumstance led to the great success of Elden Ring. Rather, the culmination of all that came before it has led us to the moment where the biggest game that they've made has also become the biggest game that they made. I can't go on any social media without seeing Elden Ring content still. And there were many times I had to consult the content of others in order to figure out how to do Ranni's quest line or fight Melania. There's no other game out there where a legend like Let Me Solo Her could emerge. I am convinced of that. Elden Ring offers the struggle and the accomplishment that can be found in all From Software games, but the strides that this game makes to create a huge community around it is where its true achievement lies.